We're live. Did it actually like happen without any kerfuffles? It just worked. Woohoo! Um, Hi folks, let me know if audio is okay, video's okay, everything's cool. Please let it be cool. I'm gonna close the door because environmental noises. And I'll make you some tea. I already made you some tea. I'll pour you some tea. So our tea for the day, as we lay out happy 2024, happy new year. This is our first class of the new year, and so we have a different setup for classes now. So I'm kind of done with the plant explorations. I've done them for like 5 years now, every Monday for 5 years. So I think y'all are done with them. They're all there. They're all archived. If you need to watch them.
Speaking of archives, do you still have all the ones on Facebook?
Yep, all the ones on Facebook are still there.
To find them.
If you go into videos, you have to go into live streams. So it's a separate page for live streams. I know, sometimes I can find them and sometimes I can't. But yeah, they are there. Hi Teresa, hi Acadian Homestead, Happy New Year. Yeah, so thanks. So yeah, we're going to play with recipes, a different recipe a week. And within that context then, kind of looking at the plants, but also looking at medicine making and looking at, you know, all of the kind of little other places that just looking at a recipe can take us. And then we're also looking at the kind of the larger concepts of here's a how-to with these particular ingredients, but then of course you can take that and apply it to many different things. So that's our goal. And then hopefully y'all will play with the recipes. Jennifer, good morning, Jennifer. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. Hi, Teresa. Alrighty, so today I figured, okay, I gotta say, next week, today we're doing something, next week, oh, I don't have them here. Okay, well, we don't have smell-o-vision, so y'all wouldn't be able to see them anyway. After class, I have to show you. I was going to last minute change the recipe today because I just got a pound of freshly harvested and dried. You can come in. I see. Yep. Yeah. Come on in. Hi. Hi. You're fine. It was. We had lawnmowers were going and the dogs were barking and all of that. So yeah. I like your hair.
Oh, thank you.
So I just got a pound of freshly harvested and freshly dried vanilla beans. A pound of vanilla beans just sent from Indonesia. I'm part of a buying co-op, and so we put in orders before the crop is harvested, before it's kind of processed. So they send, I don't know how many they get at the home base, but like 50 pounds of vanilla beans and then send them all out to us. So I have some ideas for recipes for if you just happen to have a pound of vanilla beans on hand. But it is winter and it's cold. It is so cold. My feet are very, very cold. Even when I get hot flashes, my feet are still cold. So, and then there's people, I have friends in Texas, I have friends in Oregon where it's getting just really, really, really cold. And, you know, and some of you live in places where there's like snow and things that I have heard of but not really experienced all that much. So, so today we're going to look at how to make a topical warming treatment. Now, the treatment form, we could use a number of different treatment forms, right? We could do an infused oil. We could make an infused oil and from that make a balm, which is probably one of the most common, right? Like a warming balm. We could make a lotion, taking an oil and oil and water and emulsifying it together, making a lotion. So there's a lot of different things. But I wanted to use this class to look at the concept of making liniments. Because liniments are easy and quick if you have the raw materials. And so here is one more reason why you should build up an apothecary of pre-made single tinctures, right? So you have tinctures of all of the different herbs that you're using. It's nice to make blends, but if you have all of the different tinctures, infused oils, herbs, not that you have to have hundreds of them. You don't have to have, an apothecary like we have next door. But when you have the herbs that you use in prepared forms, you've already made them into a usable form, such as a glyceride or a tincture or infused oil. Then you can just mix those together and boom, you have a recipe. So last week when I did a test run of this class, we had just finished this. It still kind of stunk of paint in here. But I thought someone might come for class, so I'll kind of be ready if anyone comes. And we did kind of the same concept in making a throat syrup by combining tinctures and honey, right? You don't have to boil things. You don't have to infuse for a month. If you have a tincture of thyme and you have some honey, you can mix that together and you have thyme cough syrup ready to go in like 5 minutes. You're done, right? And so being able to make things on the fly and change those concepts around also, right, is one of the things that we're going to be thinking about today. You can smell them from here. The smell-o-vision does work then, Teresa. Yay, I am so glad to hear that. So we're going to look at the concept of making a liniment. So liniments can be made from a number of different ingredients. We have, I'm sorry. How rude of me. I didn't make tea for you. Would you like some tea? Of course you'd like some tea.
Well, sure.
This tea is our Bloom blend. Ricara formulated this. I'm sorry, it's very hot. Okay. So it's Tulsi, linden, cinnamon, honeybush. Mwah! It's so good. I love this recipe. Liniments. So liniments are things you rub onto your skin to exert an influence topically on those tissues. So we're looking at localized effects of application. So one of the basic liniments is rubbing alcohol, right? Plain old rubbing alcohol. It's called rubbing alcohol because when you rub it into the skin, it has a rubefacient. Don't do that. You're brand new. Okay, so vocabulary for you. Rubefacient. Ruba, the root word is red, right? So rubefacient, something that causes redness in the skin. So what happens when we're causing redness in the skin? What's going on with the tissues?
Causing redness in the skin.
Uh-huh.
Maybe more blood flow to the surface. Irritation.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting more blood flow there. You're increasing blood flow to that area. You're also drawing blood to the surface, right? So you can see it where we're exerting a specific influence on that tissue. We're going to get blood to that area and we're going to draw it to the surface. We're going to be moving energy underneath the tissues, right? So a rubefacient is directly working on the skin. And oftentimes a rubefacient action, increasing that circulation, is caused by here's another related a counter-irritant, related language. So a counter-irritant is something that you're applying to the skin and it is irritating, stimulating circulation to that area, right? So what would be a counter-irritant herbally that you can think of? Cayenne pepper, totally, yeah. Yeah, cayenne is one of the primary ones. We have some cayenne infused oil here.
Chili in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you think of other ones? Cayenne is the low-hanging fruit there because it's so obvious. Yeah.
Would it be anything that like you have an allergic reaction to?
Certainly, that can an allergic response if we're inducing an immune response in that area, causing the immune system to get pissed off. That can cause redness there, but what's actually going on is with that activation of immune cells underneath there, they're all going, hey, immune system, hey, everyone, look at what's going on here. And we're going to cause swelling, we're going to cause inflammation there, right? But a lot of that inflammation is the veins become leaky and we have a lot of the interstitial fluid moves into there. You get fluid moving into the area because what you're trying to do is create stasis, right? You don't want circulation. Everything stops. Something just happened here. Stop, right? And so we're by using, yes, there's increased redness, absolutely, if we were inducing an immune response, but we'd be actually creating an opposite reaction from what we want because we'd be creating stagnation. We want to be moving stagnation. We want to be moving that around. So we'd want to be kind of mindful of an action like that. Yeah. So,
Ginger.
yep, ginger would be another great one. Absolutely. Rosemary is good. Cinnamon.
How about herbs that are like acidic? Like have like that acid, like kind of like.
So an acidic effect is going to have more of a topical effect, and it doesn't have the ability to go deeper down into the tissues. And we're looking at things that can move that energy deep. So cayenne, ginger, garlic absolutely could. You'd stink, but totally. And then also eating garlic, right? If you're looking at increasing circulation, one of the best things you can do is just eat a bunch of garlic. Garlic increases microcirculation. It thins the blood and improves circulation specifically to the periphery of the body. So if you're having cold hands and feet, eat garlic, and that is going to move blood out to the peripheral circulation. It's one of the reasons also why garlic has been considered an aphrodisiac. Because moving blood to the peripheral tissues is, yeah, I'm sorry, Con, what were you?
Is that for raw or cooked, the same?
Raw is going to be stronger, right? So cooking it is going to reduce that because you're neutralizing that enzyme and stopping the chemical reaction that happens that creates the strong stimulating effect.
With the garlic, would you get those constituents if you extracted it in oil and didn't actually eat the garlic?
So remember that garlic, I kind of didn't want to go into the garlic thing because it's like I love talking about the garlic chemistry, and it's like I don't want to be drawn into that. So I was trying to walk away from that, but then Renee's like, no, talk about garlic. No, because garlic chemistry, the strong stimulating chemistry that is, I think, the primary focus of this strong stimulation of circulation, strong immediate stimulation of circulation, would be associated with allicin. And remember that allicin is the compound that is produced when garlic cells are broken, right? So we chop garlic, the cells break, and we have two chemical compounds that have been separated by a cell wall. Allinase, ASE, it's an enzyme, and allin. And when allinase and allin combine, and they combine when you have garlic being crushed, right? Freshly crushed garlic. You have this de novo production of a new compound, allicin, and it's created during that effect. But allicin only has a lifespan of about 24-ish hours. And so after a day, it starts to degrade, which is why fresh garlic has that beautiful, wonderful smell, and old garlic has the funky smell, because it's those degradation compounds, these sulfur compounds, that are the nasty, stinky, old effect of garlic, and they no longer have that strong stimulating effect. They have other really good benefits for the body. Hi, welcome. Hi. They just don't have that strong stimulating effect. So this is a long way of saying, Renee, I don't think that an infused oil of garlic would have that same effect. But it would have long-term beneficial effects on circulation, just not that stimulating immediate effect. Yeah, so eyes open, nettles, yeah. So nettles also, especially if you were, beating them on your skin, right? Getting that urtication response. Yeah. So hi, welcome. Cayenne ginger, garlic, yes, but not what we're looking at really today so much. Cinnamon, absolutely. So, rosemary, right? So, when we're looking at this, the recipes, we're going to be using specific ingredients here, but you can certainly substitute whatever you have. We're looking at creating a warming, um, liniment for feet, for rubbing onto the skin to stimulate circulation, because we have cold feet in the cold winter where it's 60 degrees here. It's so freezing cold.
And we won't put shoes on.
And we're wearing, yes. So these are counter irritant herbs, and they're going to have that immediate stimulating effect. But there are other types of herbs that we can also use in a formula like this. And one of my favorites is not so much a counter irritant, but it does stimulate circulation. And that is, erase our
What's that herb called that you use on the skin for the muscles, but you don't take it internally because it's toxic?
arnica.
That's it. That's what.
Arnica, yes.
Arnica?
Yep, you could absolutely throw arnica in there. Absolutely. Yeah, arnica would be a great one. Certainly this would be primarily for topical use, but you could use arnica as a tincture or an infused oil in here. Absolutely. Prickly ash. Right? So prickly ash increases circulation, but in very different types of chemistry, very different feeling. And it's really nice for people whose bodies are not going to respond really well, or their tissues are not going to respond well to this degree of heat, right? There are some bodies, some skin that might be, say someone has a fungal infection, or just really delicate dry. You're working with an elder who has just really delicate tissues on their feet. And if you put some ginger infused oil or cinnamon or cayenne, that's going to be way too strong for them, and it may cause some discomfort. Or if they have a wound, you don't want to throw cayenne oil in a wound. Prickly ash is a plant that does not have what most of these have. The chemistry that kind of links all of these is the chemistry of oleoresins. That's what all of these have in common, even though they're not really related botanically. They all have these. So think the chemistry of oleoresins, right? Oleo means oil, resin means resin. So these are sticky, oil-soluble resinous compounds, and that's one of the reasons why they tend to be counter-irritants, because they're strong, warming, stimulating, and sticky. So when you put them on the skin, they kind of persist, right? And so it's not going to think of the primary. The primary one we can think of is the capsaicin, which is the oleoresin of cayenne, right? Capsaicin binds to the skin, and you cannot wash that off, right? How do you best get rid of cayenne? If you have too much cayenne, you've eaten something really, really hot, you drink water, that didn't work.
No.
Milk. Why milk?
It's basic. It's very basic.
No, you've got kind of the right idea, but it's the fats, yes, because it's an oleoresin. It's fatty and resinous, and water doesn't dissolve fats and resins, but oils do. Chocolate. It's a good excuse. Well, chocolate has fats in it. Yeah.
You could swish with like oil.
Yep. You can just swish with oil if you don't want to. You don't have to eat dairy, right? Yeah, you can just swish with oil. Or another solvent is alcohol. So you can also just drink beer, take a shot of alcohol. That's going to dissolve it. It'll move it down further in the tissues. You're still going to have to deal with that burn. It's just going to again move it down, but at least you've got it off of your tongue. Mustard seed too. Yes. Hi Des. Cumin. Pine sap. Yes. Oh, pine sap. So again, resins, right? All of the coniferous plants are going to also be really helpful for that. Is it really, really cold where you are, Des? I know that people up north are talking about the cold weather. I didn't know how far up you are. So mustard seed, in fact, you have to be careful with. Mustard seed plasters are often commonly used for stimulating like respiratory movement in the respiratory tissues. Take mustard and mix it with water. Now mustard has sulfur compounds, again, kind of similar to the sulfur compounds that we were talking about in garlic, where you have this immediate spike of chemistry that happens. You get these sulfur compounds in mustard that are activated when it's put into water, so you make a plaster, a paste of mustard powder and water, and then apply it to the chest or apply it to the back, and it's really good at stimulating circulation, but it's so warming that you can actually induce blisters on the skin. It's so hot when you do that. So again, if you don't want that heat, you can use prickly ash as a compound, as an ingredient in your formula, modifying that. And then one more that we can think of that is not an oleoresin or a resin-based compound, but still very good at moving energy and moving circulation, is angelica. Angelica root as a tincture is often used in, there's an herbal liniment, probably one of the best known herbal liniments for topical for pain relief, called Dit Dat Jiao, and it's used by martial arts practitioners. It's called Iron Fist wine, an alcohol extract of angelica and various other herbs is massaged into tissues. Again, where we have stagnation, where we have bruises, we have broken blood vessels, you have just a lack of flow, a lack of blood flow, of circulation and energy there. Angelica is often used as a topical treatment for moving those along. So I grabbed tinctures of a number of those plants. We have cayenne and prickly ash and angelica and rosemary as tinctures. I also have cayenne as an oil, and I do want to talk a little bit about cayenne topically also here, just because there's a unique action that cayenne will have. It's stimulating circulation of the area, absolutely, but one other thing that's really cool about using cayenne topically, and the tincture can be used for this or infused oils. When you apply cayenne topically, that oleoresin called capsaicin. This is the compound that causes the heat in peppers, right? Higher the capsaicin content, the higher the heat. And we measure the capsaicin content in what's called Scoville heat units, or heat units. And so generally what we call medicinal cayenne in the herbal world is generally 40,000 heat units. Is kind of the standard there, and that means that it takes 40,000 parts of water to 1 part of this cayenne to dilute it to the level where we cannot taste it anymore, right? So that's what the heat unit measurement, 40,000 parts of water to dilute. So the higher capsaicin content peppers are like 200,000, 250,000 are the bonkers ones. But right about 40,000 is really good. So capsaicin, when capsaicin is applied to the skin, it's going to cause heat, right? It's going to, if you apply a lot of it, it's going to burn. And what you're doing when you're applying it to the skin is you are stimulating nerve cells to produce a compound called substance P for pain. And substance P is a neurotransmitter whose primary job is to send pain signals up to the brain, right? It just says, ow, something got applied here, and ow. So that's the message that substance P sends. Capsaicin depletes cells of substance P. It makes the cells produce a large amount of substance P because it's warming and stimulating and it's causing pain. And so those cells are producing all of this neurotransmitters to send that message up, but it inhibits more new production of substance P. So as those cells use up that messenger, there's no more there. And so cayenne topically is often used for reducing chronic pain disorders when that pain is not serving a purpose. Sometimes pain is serving as a purpose. You tweak your ankle, and that pain is telling you, don't step on this ankle. And we want to listen to that. We don't want to just make the pain go away and go on a run, right? So sometimes pain is a good signal, and sometimes pain isn't doing us any good. We know that's painful. There's stuff that we're doing, but right now that pain doesn't serve us anything. Capsaicin can be used topically for things like arthritis, nerve pain, shingles, diabetic neuropathy or other types of neuropathy, right? So nerve pain, chronic nerve pain, it's very beneficial for. I once put capsaicin cream on and burned so bad I used mineral oil. Mineral oil, yes, absolutely would be another good, because you used an oil and that's going to reduce it. So yes, and prickly ash is not fragrant. Exactly. Sorry, I'm going and seeing those. I know orange peel tincture is warming. Do you think it'd be warming topically too? For some reason, I feel like it wouldn't be, but I've never tried it. So, so yeah, I don't think that it would, Des. I mean, any oil that you put onto the skin topically is going to be somewhat stimulating because the skin's not going to like it, but in that respect, it's going to be a little bit more like an immune response rather than stimulating circulation. So I would think no on that. And then going back to your previous comment, yeah, prickly ash is not aromatic, and the chemistry of prickly ash is really different. We're not looking at similar compounds in prickly ash. We're looking at what's called compounds called isobutylamides, alkylamides. Which are also found in spilanthes, found in echinacea, found in Szechuan peppercorns, right? So if you think of that tingly feeling of Szechuan peppercorns, if you've ever had that in Chinese 5-spice, it's used as a tingly effect. And so that's what the prickly ash has. And these are somewhat alcohol oil soluble, so they're really good in a tincture or oil for this. Okay, so that was about cayenne. So cayenne you can use for warming, but also it's going to have this other effect that you could select for. I have 2 essential oils that we can also add in there. Rosemary, again, kind of looking at rosemary for stimulating circulation, and cypress essential oil. And cypress essential oil is a vascular tonifier. It's a very good if there is a lack of vascular tone, and generally that is going to be one of the reasons why something's going on with your circulation anyway. Almost always there's going to be issues of a lack of vascular tone, too much tone, everything is too constricted, too weak. So cypress essential oil is a really nice one to use for that. All right, so, and Teresa, I did the same thing. I used a cayenne cream. I had made a cayenne cream. I put it on my feet for arthritis, and waited about 5 minutes and thought, oh, that probably wasn't enough. I'm going to put some more on, and I put more on. And in about 10 minutes, the first application started to work and was like, wow, that's really, really hot. And then the second application started to work, and then that was very, very painful. And yeah, I definitely know what you mean. All right, so then let's look at the ingredients that we can put together here. So we have these are the herbs that we're looking at. We don't have to use all of these. We're not going to use all of these. In fact, and there's a lot more that we could be choosing from. These are the ones that are in our apothecary right now. So I'm going to grab some that work in sort of different ways so that we can make a product that's going to have multiple layers of action, right? If we have everything that's just oleoresins, well, that kind of limits the range of efficacy of our finished formula, right? So we can take a couple of different oleoresin-rich plants. What should we use for oleoresins? Anyone have any strong opinions? I don't have any cinnamon, so we're not going to use cinnamon. Oh, and I don't have ginger. So actually, there's our cayenne and rosemary. How does cayenne and rosemary? And we'll keep the cayenne kind of low in the mix, right? Because we want to, if we're making something that like all of you are going to be able to try, we want to have something that isn't too much, but I also want you to kind of feel it. So we'll use some cayenne. Should we use cayenne in an oil or a tincture?
What's the other one in rosemary? Is it in a?
Rosemary is in a tincture and also the essential oil. Yeah. So since we have rosemary tincture, maybe the cayenne oil. We don't have any arnica. Prickly ash tincture. Angelica, we have tincture. So Angelica also acts as a different way. Angela's sort of moving stagnation. Prickly ash is warming circulation, but has that cooler effect. Cayenne is warming circulation with a really warm effect. And rosemary is strengthening vascular tone. So that's actually really nice. We've got different actions from all of those. Angelica, prickly ash, cayenne, rosemary. We can add the rosemary essential oil if we wanted to. We should add the cypress. One other thing, so we'll hold off on the cayenne tincture. One other thing that I do want to throw in there, another rubefacient with a very different activity, and that is castor oil. I don't have to write it down, you can hear me. Castor oil. So castor oil is also very good at moving stagnation. Yeah.
Sorry, is the tincture is just when it's like made with alcohol?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that.
That's
It's
okay.
important to clarify terminology, so I appreciate that. Yes, a tincture is an alcohol extract. So we use varying amounts of alcohol and water to extract the constituents and make it into a form that's concentrated and shelf stable. And also because it has the alcohol in it, when we're applying it as a liniment, alcohol in itself has a little bit of a counter irritant, a rubefacient effect, but it's also it was used to extract the herbs, and now it's being used to deliver the herbs, and then it's volatile, so it's going to leave, right? So it's just going to dump the herbs there and then go away. So when we use alcohol in a liniment, it's a really good way of putting a concentrated amount of herbs, because once the medium leaves, once the alcohol leaves, all of those herbs that were applied to the skin are concentrated now. They're not diluted by the liquid that was holding them, because the liquid that was holding was not there, right? So it's actually a really good way of getting a concentrated amount of herbs, stimulating circulation there, moistening the skin. Skin that is moist and stimulated is going to be more permeable. Skin isn't permeable to everything. There's a whole bunch of chemistry that cannot penetrate the skin. But here, we're not so much needing to completely permeate the skin. We're looking at stimulating circulation and kind of moving energy underneath. And one of the best ways to move energy in those underlying tissues is castor oil. So castor oil contains a unique fatty acid called ricinoleic acid. So ricinoleic acid, ricinus is the genus of castor oil, Ricinus communis. So ricinoleic acid is the fatty acid that exists in castor oil that makes castor oil different from every other oil. There's no other oil that contains ricinoleic acid, and castor oil is like 90% ricinoleic acid. Just to be super clear about this, castor is also a highly toxic, poisonous plant. Don't go trying to make something from castor. It's an abundant weed in our region. I don't know about all y'all's region, but castor is everywhere. Can't see the full board. Oh, I'm sorry. Boop, boop, boop. I'll move it over here. I'll move you here. I'll just tweak you. There. Now you can see more of the board. Cayenne oil, safflower. Would the cayenne oil linger longer than the tincture? Yes. Yes, it would. Although the tincture carrying the capsaicins is depositing those capsaicins, you're going to have lingering capsaicins bound to your skin in the same way that cayenne lingers in your mouth after you eat them. But yes, oil, and that's why we like to combine tinctures and oils together, because oils persist, because oils hold things next to the skin. So the tincture is going to deliver things, kind of increase the permeability of the skin, stimulate stuff, and then the oils are going to kind of hang on and extend the effects of the formula. So yes, when we're going to combine oils and tinctures together so that we have both an immediate effect and a deeper effect, and then we also have a long-term effect and a surface. Deep and surface, immediate, long-term, right? We're just increasing the range of stuff. How do I feel about safflower oil? Safflower oil has, it's a high linoleic acid oil, high omega-6 oil, except for there's the high oleic ones, which are the omega-9 rich. You're getting me off on another tangent, but largely, safflower oil on skin is not as much of a problem as safflower oil internally. I don't like use safflower oil internally because there's too much linoleic acid in there, and we have too much linoleic acid in our diet, and we need to dump that down. So internally, no. Externally, a linoleic acid rich oil can be beneficial because it can help with barrier function in the skin. So some people are okay, and it's not going to, it kind of depends on the person. But it's also high linoleic acid, and here I'm going to stop with this, high linoleic acid oils. Linoleic acid is very subject to oxidation, and so it's going to go rancid more quickly. So safflower oil doesn't have the stability of other oils too. Meant for topical use, yeah. So, supposedly it's good for helping circulation. Well, you know, for that, that may come from Ayurvedic practitioners, because Ayurvedic practitioners are really big on the use of, Ayurveda loves oils topically, right? I love oils topically. Oils topically are awesome. But in Ayurvedic terminology, each of the oils has different energetic patterns, and so that may come from the Ayurvedic tradition, and so I would look to someone who knows more about Ayurveda than I do to look at that. It may not also come from Ayurveda because I don't know Ayurveda, but it kind of sounds like those Ayurvedic folks. So it might be great for helping circulation. Might be, I don't know. My primary issue with it would be the instability of it. Okay, so ricinoleic acid stimulates circulation in deep tissues. This is why we use castor oil packs, right? You can take castor oil and apply it to an area, and it's going to really increase circulation in the deep layers, deep tissues. We use castor oil applied over like the liver to stimulate liver function, or over the uterus to stimulate uterine function. It is very common to use castor oil to get blood moving, to get energy moving in deep tissues. And that is primarily because of the ricinoleic acid content. So throwing a little bit of castor oil in the formula is going to be really nice. Castor oil is also very viscous. It's thick and sticky. And so we don't want it to be our only oil, because then the oil portion of the liniment is going to be really dense, and it's not going to mix well in the formula. So we'll have a little bit of castor oil. I do have some sesame oil here as a base. And actually, when I was grabbing the sesame oil, I was wondering, I wonder what energetically this is in Ayurveda, and I didn't look it up because I didn't have time. So, but there may be, and it may be that safflower oil might be a better one for this. So we have Angelica prickly ash, cayenne oil, rosemary tincture, castor oil, and sesame oil. So we have, these are our ingredients. So we're going to start with our base. A little bit of these we have, well, Now what we're going to do, we're going to treat this recipe just like we would treat combining a tincture blend, right? We're just going to use the oils as part of the whole blend. So these are our ingredients, and if we start off, so what we need to do now is we need to figure our formula, right? So I'm going to take out all of the extraneous information. These are ingredients. And so we can start out, what we want to do is we want to make a formula with these items. So we're going to figure our parts, the ratios of each plant to the other. So if we start out with a ratio of 1 part of each one, that's fine. I would want to increase rosemary tincture, because rosemary tincture is going to be really safe and really effective. It's going to be aromatic. It's lovely. So let's bring rosemary tincture up. Angelica tincture for much the same. Castor I want to keep low, but I'm going to bring the sesame up so that I can dilute the castor oil a little bit. Cayenne oil we'll keep low, so we've got some of it, but we don't have too much of an effect. And prickly ash tincture I'm going to keep low, because I can see that our tincture content is going to be we have 5 parts tincture. Well, no, that's okay. And 4 parts oil. Yeah, we'll go ahead and increase. No, we'll leave it there. No, that's a good one. That's good. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 parts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And 9 is a funky number to work with in terms of just doing your math. And so I am going to add 1 more part to the prickly ash, because 10 is a nice number to work with. All right, so we have 10 parts. Here's our recipe. I'm going to move this over here. Castor 1, sesame 2. There's our whole recipe here. All right, there's our recipe. So now we can think about how much we're going to make. So we have 1, 2, 3. We'll make 4 ounces, which is about 120 mils. So we're going to make 120 milliliters of our formula, right, of our blend. And that'll allow everyone to go home with a little bottle of it. So we're going to take, so we have a total of 10 parts of our formula. 120 mils total is the volume. And so 120 mils divided by 10 is 12. Right? So each of these parts is going to be 12 milliliters in volume. This is how we measure all of our formulas. So now we have 12 and 12 and 24, 24, 24, and 24. There's our recipe. Now, the reason that we do it by parts is when you're first making a formula, you'd want to make a pretty small amount. We're going to have a ½ ounce. You can go and try this a couple of times, but we're not going to make a gallon of it at first, because we don't know. We haven't tried this formula yet. So we make a small amount. But if we decided, yes, after trying it in this form, we decide that's just the best stuff. I love that. I want to make a lot of it. We'll be able to take the same formula And because it's ratios of each plant to the other, we could make a little bit larger amount. We could use 2 ounces of each one. We could use 2 cups of each one. We could use 2 gallons of each one. The ratios are going to stay the same. The parts are going to stay the same. And that's a much easier way to go up or down than if I said we're going to use a 1/4 cup of these and an 1/8 cup of this, 1/4 cup and 1/8. That would be really unpleasant to go up or down with those amounts, right? So parts is the way that most herbalists are going to present formulas for you. Alrighty, and now we can just measure out Angelica. So we have graduated cylinders that have measurements here, and it's very easy to combine those. I put 12, but we have 24. You always want to check your parts and make sure that you're getting the numbers great. What is the next one underneath Angelica? Prickly ash. And how much do we have?
2.
Two parts. So we'll do 24 mils of our prickly ash tincture. All right, what's the next one?
Castor. Oh, do you want to do the?
Oh, we can just go down. No, that's
yeah,
fine.
Castor oil 1 part.
Okay.
12.
Now, castor, being very goopy, I don't want to put it into the cylinder there that we're using. And it is going to take a little bit of encouragement to mix with the sesame, so I think I will mix it with the sesame with this one so it can thin out. So what's the sesame amount? Is that also?
Sesame's 2 parts.
2, okay. Oh, that's right, because we're diluting the... Now, it'd be really nice if I had infused the sesame oil with anything. So, the downside to adding a non-infused ingredient into our formula is this could have been a carrier of something, right? Instead, it's empty. So it's diluting stuff. That's okay. To a certain extent, I sort of want it to be something that's diluting. But you always want to think, anytime you're adding an ingredient, a base ingredient, if it's a water or alcohol or glycerin or oil or vinegar or anything like that, it's an opportunity. Could I infuse that with something and then bump up the therapeutic effects? And is that necessary? Sometimes it isn't. Okay, what's our next one? Rosemary. How much rosemary do we have? 2 parts. And one of the reasons I also really like liniments over oils or balms, right? So we could make this same formula, again, as an infused oil. We could infuse all of these in oil. We could make a salve out of it. It would be a really nice, different type of salve, really nice. We could do that. But we're doing a liniment. One of the reasons that I also like liniments is that sometimes you don't want all the oil on your skin. Sometimes an infused oil or a balm is just too goopy, and liniments leave less residue on the skin. Did we get everything?
The cayenne. Did we do the cayenne oil?
Nope, didn't do the cayenne. Thank you.
And what kind of oil did you use?
Fractionated coconut oil. With infused oils like cayenne, I really like to use FCO. Fractionated coconut oil is coconut oil where a couple of the saturated fats have been removed, right? So coconut oil has a high amount of saturated fats. Saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Coconut oil has a combination of saturated and unsaturated fats, which is why coconut oil is solid right now, but in the summer it's liquid, right? So it has some of those saturated fats. So they've removed those saturated fats so that it is liquid all the time. It's very stable and really nice for extraction of herbs into a base. So here's our liniment. Now you'll notice, I should have done this before I shook it up. You'll notice that it is not going to mix evenly, right? Why not?
Because you have the alcohol in the oil.
because we have alcohol and oil, and they're not soluble. They're going to separate into layers. Is there a general ratio of oil to tincture for liniments? No, it is completely up to you. So I like to get about 1 to 1, but you might like something that's much more alcohol based. Maybe you don't want any residue on your skin. Maybe you want it to be all alcohol and have no residue at all. Completely up to you. Maybe you want mostly oil but just a little bit of alcohol, or maybe you have an herb that you want to put into your infused oil and you don't have it as an infused herb, as an oil, but you have some tincture. Throw the tincture in there, it'll work. Throw the tincture in there and now it's not an oil, now it's a liniment. You just change your terminology for the ingredients that you have. That's fine. It is separating out very quickly, so I did want to show you. I don't know if you can see on the thing. I'll try to see if you can. Anyway, it's all separating out. So,
Oh, yeah.
little balls. It's a little bit like boba.
Like a lava
Yeah.
lamp.
Like a lava lamp. Yeah. The little boba bubbles. Actually. Right. So the oil and the alcohol is separating out again. So every time you use a liniment that is a combination of oil and alcohol, you're going to have to shake your bottle up. So shake it up before you apply it. It's the only thing. It's not a big deal. But it is going to separate out. You could add a little bit of an emulsifier in there if you wanted to reduce that tendency. A little bit of some liquid lecithin in there would work. But shake it up. Adding in an emulsifier would dilute it more. And if you're looking for stronger medicine, you don't want to add more ingredients. But you certainly could. Okay, so this is our liniment. So what we're going to do is, hold on just a moment. Can I give you a job? Can you shake this really, really hard, as hard as you can for about a minute? Just shake and shake and shake and shake and shake. All right. So we didn't add an emulsifier in there, but they are acting as an emulsifier.
Hang on, I need a better lid, Julie.
Now you can.
Exploding. Yes, you can try that. Rub it on your hands.
You can try it. You're the first person to try it out. I'm so sorry. Oh, but you did a great job emulsifying it. Thank you for that. I'm sorry and thank you. So now if you look at it, it's it has an opacity, right? Because we've emulsified for a short period of time those ingredients, those constituents. And so now we can pour it really quick before it separates out again. But optimally, that's what it would look like when you apply it. So now I'll pass it out to all of you, and you can apply it too. You do want to be mindful. There is some cayenne in here. It's not a huge amount, but it is there. And this is an oleoresin-rich formula, so it's not going to rinse off of your hands quite so readily as you would like. So use soap and water to wash your hands after applying it, especially if you're going to be like inserting contact lenses or something. Right. So I'm going to get another half-ounce container. Oh, wait. Oh, I do have more. All right. There you go.
Thank you.
Go. There.
Yeah.
For you. Oh, for me.
Do you have some tape, Julie, to label?
Yes, yes, we have labels over on the side there. Here's one for you.
Thank you.
All right, so shake this up and apply it to your skin. Apply it. If you are concerned about sensitivity, it's always a good idea to do a little bit on, small amount on tender skin. The inside of the arm has very delicate skin. It's a nice way place to just test stuff. If you want to just put a little bit on there. I know my body, and it just tends to not be very reactive to stuff. So I can put this on. So you're just going to massage this into areas where you want to increase circulation. And you can feel there's that, it's oily, but it isn't too oily, right? It's just kind of a little bit there. So you have that persistence, as someone pointed out, trying not to itch. Of course, right after I put it on my hands, right near my eye says, ooh, I'm very itchy now. You have to rub your eyes. If you want to play with this, apply it a couple of times and see what happens when that heat builds up. It's not going to be too bad. If you do it mindfully and carefully, you can kind of feel those changes and maybe even get a little bit of discomfort, but not be blistered and in pain, right? You can kind of push those and go, ooh, and what happens when I do this? Ooh, and what happens when I do this? So you can certainly do this with this. Apply it to your feet when they're cold, and see how that feels, or to your hands. Apply it to different areas of your body and play around with that. We don't have a need for a preservative in there because we have a very high alcohol content. The tinctures that we used are all quite high alcohol. They needed to be high alcohol, right? Because they had oleoresins in them, and those oleoresins in the plants only come out when you're hitting, 70 and higher percentage of alcohol in your tinctures. You would not want to use a very low alcohol tincture in a formula like this. Why not?
Because the water content would go bad.
Yes.
Oil.
Yes, higher amount of water content whenever you have, 10 points to you. When you have an emulsion like this, if you had a low alcohol, if you had a watered down in this formula and separated out, in a low alcohol medium where it's mostly water, that could be a medium for bacterial growth. You could be growing anaerobic organisms in your formula. And even though it's for topical use, you still don't want to have that. So keep this to generally about 60% alcohol or higher should be pretty good for inhibiting any bacterial growth in
I
there.
have a question for you. We talked about, I forgot what I was gonna say. Licorice root, topical, because they know it raises blood pressure internally. But
Right.
topical, you said not so much. Would the same kind of concept go with the rosemary? Or would it still also raise blood pressure topically?
For blood pressure. Okay, yes. I think rosemary's not going to cause liver damage. Blood pressure. Yeah, rosemary shouldn't cause any changes in blood pressure topically because what we're looking at with this is a localized effect, right? We're not getting a systemic effect from this formula. It's just very much where we're placing it. So any systemic effects that come from taking the plants internally aren't really going to be seen. Really good question.
Topical absorption is pretty poor.
Yeah, you're going to get some transdermal absorption, absolutely, but it's going to be such a small amount. It would be, smaller than you having rosemary in on your fish for dinner. Right? So I think that it would be inconsequential. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we didn't put the rosemary and cypress essential oil in, so I'll put these out, and if you want to add a couple of drops to yours, not everyone likes to use essential oils, so if you want to add some to yours, then you can add some. Anyway, that is the concept of making a liniment from existing tinctures, infused oils. If you wanted to make a liniment, you could use something, maybe even safflower oil, because Des was saying that it was helpful for circulation. But if you took safflower oil and rubbing alcohol and mix them together, that's a liniment. You're going to have some increased circulation. And of course, we also want to note that how are we applying it? We're rubbing it into the skin. And that massage is also increasing circulation of the area, right? So this is also just kind of a medium for for massage. But there's a lot of different ways that you could make a formula like this. There's also lots of different herbs that you could choose. We chose herbs for increasing circulation, but you can make a liniment like this for reducing pain. You could make a liniment like this for wound healing. You could make it for quieting reactivity in tissues, for reducing nerve pain or muscle pain, for calming muscle spasticity, right? Lots of different herbs that you could choose to kind of more specifically focus a formula like this. So making liniments is sort of a concept. See what herbs you could use, what herbs you have in your apothecary in playing with the formula. Yeah, any final questions? No? All righty.
Would you be able to put something like this, like rub it in your scalp? Or would it be a little too stimulating?
I think it would be, so I question the cayenne in there if you're gonna apply it to the scalp. Try it, do a little spot test, right? You don't have to put it all over your whole scalp. Just put it maybe just a little bit right there, right? And just kind of,
Because I eat chili like every single day.
yeah.
And I'm always cutting it and it doesn't really do anything to me.
Yeah, but you're also using it every day and you're always cutting it every day. And so you have depleted the nerves in your hands have depleted substance P, so you're not able to taste it, and you're not able to taste it there. These nerves have not been in contact with substance P, with a capsaicin, right? These nerves are replete with substance P still, right? So yeah, very localized effect. So yeah, try it. All right, thanks. I will see you next week then. Jessica, Happy New Year, Julie. How to see you back in the classroom? Has the last formulation class been rescheduled? No, so all official classes are going to next month because this, you'll see the new, there's my brand new wall. It's also brand new. And it doesn't smell like paint in here, right folks? So new ceiling, new floors, all of that tile is all new. So now that we have it all new, we can schedule classes again, but this whole place, a week ago, the toilet and the sink were right there.
Did you have class last week?
No, so I had a semi-class,
Okay.
yeah, just to kind of see, I had to see how the new thing went. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks you guys for showing up. Happy New Year. See you next week for a new recipe. All right, bye-bye. Oh, and again, turning off this thing is always such an issue. Yes, there we go.